thinking, our values, our very survival. But they can easily go awry, and do so all too often. As Aristotle saw, the problem is not with emotionality, but with the appropriateness of emotion and its expression. The question is, how can we bring intelligence to our emotions, and civility to our streets, and caring to our communal life? Ponder the last moments of Gary and Mary Jane Chauncey, a couple completely devoted to their 11-year-old daughter Andrea, who was confined to a wheelchair by cerebral palsy. The Chauncey family were on an Amtrak train that crashed into a river after a barge hit and weakened a railroad bridge in Louisiana's Bayou country. Thinking first of their daughter, the couple tried their best to save Andrea as water rushed into the sinking train. Somehow they managed to push her through a window to rescuers. Then, as the car sank beneath the water, they perished. As an insight into the purpose and potency of emotions, this exemplary act of parental heroism testifies to the role of altruistic love and every other emotion we feel in human life. It suggests that our deepest feelings, our passions and longings, are essential guides, and that our species owes much of its existence to their power in human affairs. That power is extraordinary. Only a potent love, the urgency of saving a cherished child, could lead a parent to override the impulse for personal survival. Seen from the intellect, their self-sacrifice was arguably irrational. Seen from the heart, it was the only choice to make. A view of human nature that ignores the power of emotions is sadly short-sighted. As we all know from experience, when it comes to shaping our decisions and our actions, feeling counts every bit as much as thought. We've gone too far in emphasizing the value and import of the purely rational, of what IQ measures in human life. For better or worse, intelligence can come to nothing when the emotions hold sway. It was a tragedy of errors. 14-year-old Matilda Crabtree was just playing a practical joke on her father. She jumped out of a closet and yelled boo as her parents came home at 1 a.m. from visiting friends. But Bobby Crabtree and his wife thought Matilda was staying with other friends that night. Hearing noises as he entered the house, Crabtree reached for his .357 caliber pistol and went into Matilda's bedroom to investigate. When his daughter jumped from the closet, Crabtree shot her in the neck. Matilda died 12 hours later. One emotional legacy of evolution is the fear that mobilizes us to protect our family from danger. That impulse impelled Bobby Crabtree to get his gun and search his house for the intruder he thought was prowling there. Fear primed Crabtree to shoot before he could fully register what he was shooting at, even before he could recognize his daughter's voice. Automatic reactions of this sort have become etched in our nervous system, evolutionary biologists presume, because for a long and crucial period in human prehistory they made the difference between survival and death. For better or for worse, our appraisal of every personal encounter and our responses to it are shaped not just by our rational judgments or our personal history, but also by our distant ancestral past. This leaves us with sometimes tragic propensities, as witnessed the sad events at the Crabtree household. In short, we too often confront postmodern dilemmas with an emotional repertoire tailored to the urgencies of the Pleistocene age. That predicament is at the heart of my subject. One early spring day, I was driving along a highway over a mountain pass in Colorado when a snow flurry suddenly blotted out a car a few lengths ahead of me. Pressing my foot on the brake, I could feel anxiety flood my body and hear the thumping of my heart. The anxiety built to full fear. I pulled over to the side of the road, waiting for the flurry to pass. A half-hour later, the snow stopped, visibility returned, and I continued on my way, only to be stopped a few hundred yards down the road where an ambulance crew was helping a passenger in a car. The car had rear-ended a slower car in front. The collision blocked the highway. If I had continued driving in the blinding snow, I probably would have hit them. The caution that fear forced on me that day may have saved my life. I was overtaken by an internal state that compelled me to stop, pay attention, and take heed of a coming danger. All emotions are in essence impulses to act, the instant plans for handling life that evolution has instilled in us. In our emotional repertoire, each emotion plays a unique role. With anger, blood flows to the hands, making it easier to grasp a weapon or strike at a foe. Heart rate increases, and a rush of hormones, such as adrenaline, generates a pulse of energy strong enough for vigorous action. With fear, blood goes to the large skeletal muscles, such as in the legs, making it easier to flee. Among the main biological changes in happiness is increased activity in a brain center that inhibits negative feelings and fosters an increase in available energy, and a quieting of those that generate worrisome thought. Love, tender feelings, and sexual satisfaction are the physiological opposite of the fight-or-flight mobilization shared by fear and anger. The lifting of the eyebrows in surprise allows the taking in of a larger visual sweep and also permits more light to strike the retina. This offers more information about the unexpected event, making it easier to figure out exactly what's going on and concoct the best plan for action. Around the world, an expression of disgust looks the same and sends the identical message. Something is offensive in taste or smell, or metaphorically so. The facial expression of disgust, the upper lip curled to the side as the nose wrinkles slightly, suggests a primordial attempt to close the nostrils against a noxious odor or to spit out a poisonous food. A main function for sadness is to help adjust to a significant loss, such as the death of someone close or a major disappointment. Sadness brings a drop in energy and enthusiasm for life's activities, and as it deepens and approaches depression, slows the body's metabolism. This loss of energy may well have kept saddened and vulnerable early humans close to home, where they were safer. While in the ancient past a hair-trigger anger may have offered a crucial edge for survival, the availability of automatic weaponry to 13-year-olds has made it too often a disastrous reaction. A friend was telling me about her divorce, a painful separation. She was saying that her independence was appealing to her, that she was happy to be on her own. "I just don't think about him anymore. I really don't care," she said. But as she said it, her eyes momentarily welled up with tears. That moment of teary eyes could easily pass unnoted, but the watering eyes meant she's sad despite her words to the contrary. One is an act of the emotional mind, the other of the rational mind. In a very real sense, we have two minds, one that thinks and one that feels. These two fundamentally different ways of knowing interact to construct our mental life. One, the rational mind, is the mode of comprehension we are typically conscious of, more prominent in awareness, thoughtful, able to ponder and reflect. But alongside that, there's another system of knowing, impulsive and powerful if sometimes illogical, the emotional mind. The emotional-rational dichotomy approximates the folk distinction between heart and head. Knowing something is right in your heart is a different order of conviction, somehow a deeper kind of certainty, than thinking so with your rational mind. These two minds, the emotional and the rational, operate in tight harmony for the most part, intertwining their very different ways of knowing to guide us through the world. In many or most moments, these two minds are exquisitely coordinated. Feelings are essential to thought, thought to feeling. But when passions surge, the balance tips. It's the emotional mind that captures the upper hand, swamping the rational mind. To better grasp the potent hold of the emotions on the thinking mind, and why feeling and reason are so readily at war, consider how the brain evolved. Human brains are about triple the size of those in our nearest cousins in evolution, the non-human primates. Over millions of years of evolution, the brain has grown from the bottom up, with its higher centers developing as elaborations of lower, more ancient parts. The most primitive part of the brain, shared with all species that have more than a minimal nervous system, is the brainstem surrounding the top of the spinal cord. This root brain regulates basic life functions like breathing and the metabolism of the body's other organs. This primitive brain can't be said to think or learn. Rather, it's a set of pre-programmed regulators that keep the body running as it should and reacting in a way that ensures survival. From the most primitive root, the brainstem, emerged the emotional centers. Millions of years later in evolution, from these emotional areas evolved the thinking brain, or neocortex, the great bulb of convoluted tissues that make up the brain's top layers. The fact that the thinking brain grew from the emotional reveals much about the relationship of thought to feeling. There was an emotional brain long before there was a rational one.